Driver, stop. Come forward.
What?
Nice and slow. No, driver. A little bit more driver. Okay, slow.
How is he going to get down that, dude?
Come forward a little bit more.
Whoa.
Now, passenger.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
All right, great. So hello all E3 members, and welcome to the call. We've got a lot of stuff to cover here. This is Brian Johnson, and we have some special guests on today. Of course, we have Kevin and Brittany are on the line, and they'll be joining into the conversation here in a minute. And we also have Justin from the Phoenix Insurance out of Dallas, Texas, and we got loads of questions for Justin and tons of questions for Kevin and Brittany. So before we dive in, Kevin, Brittany, anything you guys want to say before we hand it off to Justin?
No, I just honestly, I hope that everyone is staying safe. Hopefully not too many of you are quarantined at home and you're taking the time off to enjoy the outdoors and go wheeling, which is what we're doing.
Yeah, what's up, guys? So we just right now, completed the Gladiator build.
Like 2 minutes ago.
Because we were trying to complete it for EJS, and then of course, we got that sad news that it was closed down, and so we figured we need to finish it anyway. It is...
Dude, I'm staring at it right now, and it looks so bomb.
I kind of don't want to give it away anymore. It's above and beyond what I thought it was going to come out as. So, and this is actually really, really, really good that we have Jess on the phone because, you know, we just added, $30,000 worth of stuff to a Jeep Gladiator, and I guess this kind of topic is great because what do you do when you have so much extra money into your Jeep and you're rolling down the road and you're off-roading and you're on-road and maybe it gets stolen. So this is actually super cool to have this call right now.
Well, I'm really stoked to be
definitely.
here. So let me introduce myself. My name is Justin Huisman. I'm the owner of the Phoenix Insurance. I've been in the insurance business now for nearly 18 years. I started out as a really specialist motorcycle insurance agent. With the choppers that you saw built on TV, I was the guy that specialized in them. My brother and I opened our agency now 10 years ago, and we specialize in specialty cars, really, exotic cars, classic cars, and then obviously the Jeeps. And I've known Kevin and Brittany through local scene here for a long time, and we've done their insurance for a little bit, and we find that we work really well together. When it comes to off-road insurance, really, it's about working with someone who knows their product. There are very few companies that actually exclude off-road insurance, but the way insurance companies work is their underwriters are programmed to say no. And so we know how to deal with underwriters and make sure that we've got a policy that actually covers what we know it should cover. It's actually really hard for a company to exclude off-road usage because what about those people that drive their car into a gravel lot before they go jogging in the morning? That's technically off-road as well. So I'm sure that you'll have more specific questions about some of the off-road coverage and stuff. But that's kind of my introduction, who I am. We specialize in the specialty with the really hard to find stuff, the insurance and not everybody can or will do. Do you want me to roll into questions, guys, and start answering those, or what do we do now?
Yeah, let's, Justin, go ahead and start with the questions that already came in from our premium members. We'll hit those, and then I'm going to start to ask the questions that are actually coming in live as we're on the call here. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Excellent. Okay, so the first question, is there any value in an off-road supplement to stack on top of regular insurance if it's more an occasional weekend warrior Jeep? There isn't really an off-road supplement. So more or less, it's what language is in the policy that tells you whether it can be operated on or off-road. The only supplement you need to really be concerned about purchasing is the supplement to cover your custom parts and equipment. Some companies will do a dollar amount of custom parts and equipment coverage, and some companies will do an actual agree to value on your Jeep. So if you've got a Jeep that's worth $150,000, that's actually the supplement you'll want, is to make sure you have the proper type of coverage. When we talk about values on coverage, there's a couple different ways to look at coverage on things. So first, you have actual cash value on coverage for a car, and that's how most policies are set up. So they're going to pay you the actual cash value of a stock version of your vehicle at time of loss. Then you have stated amounts. So stated amount, you tell us, hey, my Jeep is worth $50,000 with all the modifications it has on it. So we go out and we tell the company, hey, we think this Jeep is worth $50,000. We know why. And if something happens to it on a stated amount policy, they're going to pay you the actual cash value or the stated amount, whichever one is better for you and or the company, which means that basically the onus is on you to prove what it's worth. And the final and best way to get everything covered and no worries is to do an agreed value coverage policy. So you tell us up front, hey, my Jeep is worth $175,000 when it's all said and done, and then we go to a company who will find $175,000 worth of coverage to put on it. So off-road isn't really a box that you check to get off-road coverage. Another question, can I turn in a leased Jeep after I modified it? You can. I'm not a lease expert, but I would suggest that you put it back to stock before you turn it in. Or you're going to lose all the value that you put into it, and I'm not sure how that works with a lease.
So I can help with that question too, just to give you guys some information. When it comes to Chrysler leasing, their answer to that was as long as the modifications, the value of those were more than what was on the Jeep to start with, you can turn those back in. Now, what I don't know, guys, because I didn't get that deep into the questions with Chrysler, was, what if I go crazy on this thing and it's got, 40-inch tires and it doesn't even look like a Jeep anymore? So you're probably just going to need to, if you're leasing a Jeep, try to get a little more details on that. But when it comes to like putting a winch on or putting rock slides on it, and if it increases the value of the Jeep, you can still turn it back in at the end of the lease. I personally would like to take the stuff off, but then Justin's point's valid. But I just want to give you guys a little bit of that extra information that you can actually turn it back in as long as the modifications are more than the value of what you took off it. So, sorry, Justin, go ahead to the next one.
Absolutely, excellent. How often should I talk to my insurance company about rates? That's a really good question. So rates change basically once a year. If at all possible, you should be looking for an annual insurance policy. A lot of companies and agents like to do 6-month policies because you get the commission twice a year. And really the better bet for you as a consumer is to try to do an annual insurance policy, because then you're not going to be re-rated at every renewal. But either way, you should try to talk to your insurance agent at renewal time at least once a year, especially if you're making changes to your car, if you're putting new wheels or lifts or any of the sort of stuff that you guys are up to. Talk to them when you make those changes, but talk about rates at renewal. That's really the best time to take a look at it. And I'm going to tell you some real truth about the insurance industry that's going to hurt a little bit. Rates don't go down, they just go up. And unfortunately, there's really nothing we can do about that. I mean, Brittany and Kevin and I have had this discussion many times. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the way the world is.
So, just a quick thing, like my biggest complaint always is like, okay, we have 7 cars, but we only drive one of them at a time, or all the rest are literally sitting, somewhere not technically in storage, but like, why am I being charged the same rate for every vehicle, even though the rest are sitting? But
insurance doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and I think also part of that question that you were answering is, maybe people want to know how many thousands of dollars of modifications maybe before they need to call their agent. So if they put new tires on, tires don't really affect the value if you go from 33 to 35.
No, tires are a maintenance item.
Right. So
exactly.
And if you put some wheels on it that cost you $1,500, I mean, generally if you get in an accident, an OEM wheel is almost going to cost as much as that aftermarket wheel generally, unless you got some really crazy expensive wheels.
So yeah, when you get into things that are a couple grand, you should at least have that discussion. But if you're switching out wheels, unless it's really nutty, not really necessary. But when you start getting to a couple grand, have that discussion, because every company has a different appetite. And when you start making those changes, maybe the company you're with comes with an automatic few $1,000s worth of coverage, so you're fine. But maybe the company you're with doesn't have that, so you need to make sure that you account for that or understand that it's just not available to you.
Right.
It's all about being an informed consumer.
Right, and your guys there at the insurance company will actually let them know, hey, we signed you up with XYZ insurance, and they cover X amount of dollars, and anything over that we need to discuss if you have that. So that's a great thing about working with Justin and his company, is that they go through and outline what is most important. I mean, they'll go through all of it if you want, but they will outline what's most important and pertinent to you and your specific situation, which is why we love dealing with them.
I know there are always in car groups, I guess you see the meme where what my agent thinks I drive and what I really drive, and one is just a clapped out piece of garbage and the other one's really nice.
Right.
Well, in reality, you need to tell your agent what you really drive and what you're trying to do with it so that we can make sure that you get protection. We say in the office all the time, do you have insurance so that you can brag to your friends about how cheap it is? Or do you have insurance so that when you roll your Jeep off the side of a mountain, you can, aside from the scary part of it, go, okay, I'm good, right? And that's really what it comes down to.
Right.
Yeah, aside from the scariness of that, but why do you have the insurance? So that you can say it's as cheap as possible, or so that you can know, okay, I've got $150,000 in iron sitting in my driveway, but it's absolutely covered. I don't have any worries about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so does that answer the rates question? I think that was a good interjection. I appreciate that, Kevin.
Yeah.
So here's another one. Is there specific insurance for off-roading? Do I need to tell them that? Yes, you absolutely do. So we're independent agents at the Phoenix Insurance, which means that we represent a whole bunch of different companies for auto and home insurance and et cetera, right? Whereas with your State Farm policies, that agent represents that one company. For Geico, the person that you're calling really works for that company. So for us, I know there are a couple companies that absolutely have shown me the language in the policy, off-road coverage is not allowed. Right? And so for those, we need to know, what are you using? What are you doing? How are you using your Jeep so that we know we don't go there? And that's part of that discussion we talked about, is really let us know what you're doing. There isn't a specific off-road endorsement, but there are insurance companies that are more okay with it than others. Obviously, the more outrageous it gets, the less okay they get with it. So if you're driving one of those things that's basically just a frame, engine, and wheels, understand insurance on that sort of thing is tough. But if you're driving what Kevin and Brittany have, a modern-ish Jeep that still looks like a Jeep and is a Jeep, it's generally pretty easy to get it covered properly. And yeah, tell them what you're doing so that you don't run into any coverage gaps. Generally, the reason that people have problems with their insurance is because either the agent didn't know what they were doing or they didn't explain to the agent completely what was happening, and so expectations weren't set or met properly. What happens if I roll my Jeep with simple auto insurance? It's kind of a broad question, but a good one. So if you have regular auto insurance, just you called Geico and got a policy, and you roll your Jeep and it's totaled, you're going to lose all the money you have in extra parts, and you're going to be paid actual cash value for that Jeep, whatever it is. So if you have a 96 Wrangler that you've put $15,000 worth of stuff onto, you can forget about it because you're going to get paid on a 96 Wrangler, whatever that is. And so it's really hard with
they allow for off-road coverage, correct?
Well,
yeah, if the company's okay with it. Really,
yeah.
I mean, most companies are, really and truly. I can tell you that from being in my side of the desk here, underwriters, which are the people we have to get approval from, every underwriter, when we started working with Kevin and Brittany, we went to them and said, hey, tell me about off-road insurance, and every single one of them said no. And I had to do some bigger research and really get deep into their underwriting and get into the policy with them before I was able to get some underwriters to understand, yeah, it is covered, right? But so it's that in-depth knowledge of my product that allows me to make sure that you're covered properly when you're with us.
So there's a difference between Colorado being on FM, whatever road that has big rocks and trails, because technically, like, that's still a road, whether it's a farm road or if it's an old mining service road. You can technically have that argument that, hey, I'm on an actual road that's on a map, you know, like if you were to get grief. Although you guys go to bat for that and would help that. But what I always get is, what if I'm at an off-road park? What if I paid to go to a property that is off-road only, you know what I mean, off-road only, and all they have is
if you're not in a competition, if you're not in a competition, I would not think it would be a problem. It's on a case-by-case basis and on a company-by-company basis. But in general, if you're not competing at something, any usage is more or less okay. There's always kind of an area there, but that's part of the reason you need a good agent to help you make that argument. Ultimately, it's really hard for them to say you can't do off-road usage because your vehicle was designed for it. Now, if you drive your Mazda Miata up the side of a mountain, yeah, they're probably going to throw some shade at you for that. But a Jeep is designed to Jeep, you know what I mean? And so it's really absurd for them to say, well, this thing that's designed as an off-road vehicle cannot be used as such.
Right.
Because what's a named road? Hey, I named this road myself when I found it. There we go. right? And so that's really a slippery slope. There are a couple companies that say no. If it is not on a paved road, we won't cover it. And that's the kind of thing that your agent needs to know about his or her policy.
Gotcha.
Okay. Is comprehensive coverage adequate in the case that I would do body damage on the trail, or if another off-road rig accidentally hits me on the trail? Or is there some supplemental policy that needs to be obtained? So comprehensive coverage covers anything other than collision. So in everything that you said, that wouldn't be comprehensive coverage, that would be collision coverage. Comprehensive is for theft, vandalism, hail damage, things like that. So you'd want to make sure you have collision coverage on the trail. Ultimately, if someone else hits you, you want to get a hold of their insurance coverage and make the claim through them. But if you need to make sure that because you've presumably called us and gotten your Jeep covered properly, you're probably going to want to go through your own insurance on that, because that way you know that you're going to get paid what it's worth. And then your insurance company will do what's called subrogation and go after the other person's insurance to pay for your damages. Not really a supplemental policy, as I said. It's just a regular insurance policy. What states do we cover? I'm so sorry. I'm very bad at this. We have about 40 states, but unfortunately we do not cover Virginia yet. I know who's asking me this, and I wish I could, but we're not quite there yet. We actually just acquired another agency and added about 27 more states to our roster. So what we did is we purchased another classic car agency, and they came with a bunch of license for states that we didn't have. But in our industry, it doesn't automatically turn on that I have product to sell. So right now I've been acquiring licenses, and now I'm starting to get products turned on. So we'll be full-fledged in all these states probably in the next couple months, depending on how the end of the world goes here and how my insurance companies react to it.
Right.
So I've got another question. I think this is for you guys. EJS just got canceled. Are you guys planning to do anything while the corona is going on, or am I bummed about this? Would love to come out and do a wheeling trip with you guys.
You know, we want to set a good example. We don't want to kind of introduce anybody to anything that possibly, if anybody's sick. Our goal right now is to actually meet up with our film crew and film some more E3 off-road content. Brittany's going to have her work cut out for her, because a lot of people said they want to know about spotting and more information on spotting.
I got to figure out how to do a course on spotting.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so next question I have, does regular auto insurance on your tow vehicle also cover your trailer and vehicle on it?
Ooh,
generally not. Yeah, so your every vehicle has to have its own sort of coverage. So your regular auto insurance will extend from a liability standpoint. So if you're just towing something and you're worried about smacking some with that trailer, yes, that would be covered. Because that's just the liability portion of it. However, the coverage for the trailer itself would have to be paid for. So if you smack somebody and broke something, you have to pay for that. And then the vehicle on the trailer also would have to be covered in its own way. Now, if this is a purely just off-roading type vehicle and you just want to cover it for theft when it's at the hotel and things like that, then we could do what's called basically a paddock policy. We do it for race cars. And more or less, it just covers physical damage if it falls off the trailer or if it's stolen. So you can do one of two ways. So if it's purely one of those rock crawler things that's all frame and motor, right, you can do a policy that would just cover physical damage on it. Not physical damage in the event of an accident, but physical damage like theft or vandalism and someone slashes those expensive tires. And that's a way to do it without having to worry about the liability. If it's never going to touch the road, you basically do kind of an insurance policy like you would on a four-wheeler. Right? And so that's the way you can do that. So with your two vehicles, I know you guys have, the mule thing, Kevin? So that one should have its own off-road policy for that to cover for theft. And then whatever other vehicle you're towing should have its own policy on it.
Right. So we have the Polaris Razor. If we, like in Utah and Arizona and some states, you can drive it on the street. So if we're going to be driving it on the street at all, you would have to have it fully covered?
Yeah, you'd have to have a liability policy on it as well. Yeah.
Okay, just in case you hit somebody, that way they're covered.
Exactly. If it's legal on the street, then that's generally not very expensive. Likewise, if it's not really street legal, one of those crazy rock crawler things, or a full-on race car, then you can just do paddock coverage for if it falls off or is stolen. Okay? And then does insurance on your trail rig also cover theft if you have to leave it on the trail? Yes. So if you have comprehensive coverage, it's going to cover it. Remember, though, as an insured, your first duty is to prevent any further loss. So if your rig breaks down on the trail and you've got to leave it there, lock it up. Clear your stuff out of it. Make sure that you don't leave it too attractive for other folks. right? But yes, that would be covered under your comprehensive coverage, which is anything other than collision, so theft and vandalism and so on.
Really quick, that's a good point, is that a lot of people don't get that, because I did work insurance for quite a while as an appraiser, is that it is up to the owner to mitigate damages. So
right.
Something, and that's just not off-road vehicles, it's just something good for everybody to know. Like, say somebody broke out your window, you found it broken, and a storm's coming, and you just leave the window, like you don't do anything to try to at least cover it, and then it pours rain and it floods inside, you might not. I'm not saying that you won't. It depends on the insurance and how negligent you were being. But if it like winds up almost totaling the vehicle because the whole inside floods and it causes electrical damage, and you didn't at least put a blanket over it or something, that's just something good for people to know, that it is up to the owner to try to mitigate the damages as much as possible.
Absolutely. And in a claim situation, you've always got a human being involved. And as such, you need to make sure that you work well with that human being and you meet all your obligations. That is your first obligation in the contract as an insured, to make sure that no further damage happens if it's within your ability to stop it. So roof blows off, whatever, make sure you cover it up and make sure you protect it. If it's on a trail, move it someplace safe so it's out of the way so no one smacks into it. All right, Brian, that's all the questions I've got in the email you sent me. I'm ready for more if you have them.
So got a few more here. I'm going to paraphrase this one. So this one is more, Justin, is it reasonable after my first year when I buy the brand new Jeep, I take the biggest depreciation hit the first year? Is it reasonable that I should be asking for a lower rate after my first year of a brand new car?
No, not really, because the expense to repair is still there. It's not like the car is any less expensive to repair. Insurance just doesn't really go down. I know it really stinks to hear that, but that's the actual truth of it. It doesn't go down. Over time, yes, the prices will go down, but ultimately, remember, one of the things that you're insuring for is your liability to others. We have become an increasingly litigious society, and the cost of liability insurance has gone up tremendously over the past few years. And then cars are more expensive to repair. Just because you took a hit in value doesn't mean that the $800 backup sensor is worth any less to fix it.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next one. Last week I had an unfortunate experience, did a backflip. It says, with the virus outbreak in my recovery, I will be reporting this event to my insurance company. What wording should I use to inform my insurance company?
You did backflip in your vehicle, I think? Like it flopped backwards? Is that what I heard?
I don't know.
It just says
that's what it sounds like.
Just
yeah, I mean, if it was in your car, just report that you rolled over in your car. That's just collision like anything else. They're going to look sideways at you, but that's what happens when you have a car like that. If you're trying to claim bodily injury, make sure you have some bodily injury coverage on there, like PIP or medical payments. Otherwise, if that's the only reason you're claiming and you don't have any bodily injury coverage, I wouldn't call the insurance company.
All right, that's actually good to point out real quick, is that, just because you have coverage, if you slide and you hit a tree with like your taillight and your bumper, you generally don't want to make those kind of claims. You generally want to like maybe fix that bumper and put a taillight in yourself, because your rates can go up, and or if you start claiming this stuff, you can have an insurance just drop you altogether and not renew your policy if your claim, you're like, I have insurance, I scratched my fender, I want new paint, or I want a new fender, or so.
And deductible still exists.
Yeah, insurance isn't one of those things that you want to like overly use. It's not there to, it's there in worst case scenario type of stuff.
So backflip sounds pretty serious to me.
Yeah,
so I would certainly claim a backflip. But I don't know. But I don't know on a Jeep. If you don't have that much damage, Kevin's absolutely right. You've got to figure out your threshold. So you've got your deductible, but then you've got to figure how much more is that going to cost you. So say you have a $500 deductible and it's a $2,000 claim. You're only going to be paid $1,500, but they're going to get their full $2,000 back probably over the next couple of years. So you got to make the decision. Is this something I can just fix, or is it upgrade time? It's kind of how I look at it.
Yep. And that actually goes right to Tim's question from Joshua Tree, which is kind of what you said here, Kevin. It says, if I have comp collision on a vehicle, I smash my sides going through extreme rated trails in Johnson Valley, will I be able to get it fixed with the insurance company paying for it? And the second question is, can I get comp collision on salvage title vehicle?
The first part, we just answered that. Yeah, you can do it, but anytime you make a claim, understand that you become under scrutiny, and the weirder the claim gets, like, hey, I use my Jeep for Jeeping, the more likelihood that there's going to be a challenge at the end of it, either canceling or whatever. And the second part of that question, I'm sorry, say it again. I talked myself out of the answer.
It says, can I get comp collision on a salvage title vehicle?
Yeah. Generally not as much anymore. You used to be able to, and it wasn't as hard to do so. But if it's a stock salvage vehicle, probably not. In fact, a lot of companies won't even do liability on them anymore. It's getting harder and harder because a lot of them are flood damaged, and the electronics are really harder to fix than a car that, say, was totaled because of a smashed frame, right? Now, if you have a salvage title vehicle and you've built it up into something special, that's when you can get into an agreed value or a stated value policy, because it's much more than a regular stock car. And so there you sometimes can. We've got a Porsche race car that's a salvage title, and we get full coverage on it because it's not stock, it's not original, it's a race car. So you're able to get full coverage on it if it's something special, sometimes. Once again, company dependent.
All right, so the next one, and again, everybody hit star 2 if you want to ask a live question. So the next one just came in is for Jesse from Virginia. I'm stoked to hear about E3 Overland. Do I get both as an E3 Offroad member? Well, okay, so let's explain this, guys. And yeah, by the way, everybody should know that the addition of Overland and Brad and all the partners on the Overland side really enhance the off-road, E3 Offroad as well. So the two together, with all the partners and all the buzz in the industry, create just a really great experience. So, but yes, if you're already an E3 Off-Road member, you are going to get a giant discount, and you'll be able to have both E3 and Overland, or E3 Off-Road and E3 Overland, for a really low price. So just heads up, but you got to be an E3 Off-Road member to get that when Brad launches. So just heads up on that. So Justin, can you give everybody your website address here, and we're going to email it out to you and get you Justin's contact information, but can you talk about how to contact you?
Yeah. Our website is thephoenixinsurance.com. We have a get a quote box up there, and go ahead and do that. I am the owner, so if you call in, don't ask for me. I have different duties. I don't really sell insurance policies anymore, but I have several people that work with me and that are experts like I am to help you guys get insured. But go to thephoenixinsurance.com, send in a quote. You can send an email to quotes@thephoenixinsurance.com, or you can call us at 214-253-0570, and I'll make sure the 800 number goes out. When it comes to insurance, it's important to remember that you guys are investing a bunch of money in your Jeeps. For some of you, they're pure toys. For some of you, they're both your toy and your daily driver vehicle. You need to make sure that you protect that investment and protect yourself from what comes if something happens, whether it's theft or vandalism or rolling it or whatever it may be. So there's 3 different ways to buy insurance, and I'll wrap on this unless you've got more questions. You can go direct, which is like Geico or Progressive, right, where you call somebody that's a salaried person for that company. So their interest lies in protecting that company. You can do captive agent, which would be like a State Farm or a Farmers, and it's kind of the same thing. They're not an hourly employee, but they are employed by that company. And then you can come to someone like us who's an independent agent who has multiple companies and multiple options, because not every insurance company is the same or can do the same things. And the more specialized you get, the more likelihood you have of getting real results when it comes to claims time. We have some, Kevin and Brittany have some amazing fans, and there's some incredible, incredible Jeeps out there on the mountains, and I'm amazed that we're able to cover them the way we are. And it's so much fun to work with these challenging things. Insurance isn't particularly exciting, but what's fun is to be able to really find solutions for unique folks like you and your team and your people here, right? It's a lot of fun.
To touch a little bit more on that, what's super awesome is that, if you do have to make a claim and say you've never made a claim before, the Phoenix is there to help you with that process. They don't just, we signed you up for XYZ insurance, here you go, good luck. They are literally there to hold your hand through the whole claims process. And if for whatever reason you do get any kickback because of modifications or location of an accident, they're there because they know the policy in and out, and they can actually talk to the underwriter on your behalf to make sure that
you're being
treated fairly. Right.
In my experience, most bad insurance experiences in general are because of there wasn't a great agent involved in the first place. You know, it's not that the agent was bad, that they just don't have the level of knowledge that some other agents might have. Anyone can do this. It costs $50 to get an insurance license, but it takes a lot of time to be really good at placing the coverage properly.
Right.
Justin, thanks a bunch. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. And if you have questions that I didn't answer, do feel free to email me, justin@thephoenixinsurance.com, and I'll do my best to get you an answer or connect you with someone else who can do that for you. I'm always happy to help. We're really advisors. Insurance is complicated. You guys aren't insurance agents, but this is what I do. So I'd really love to be able to help make sure that you have your assets protected properly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome.
I guess while we have you on, what if we take the recording of this and maybe put it on our YouTube channel? Yeah, like we could take this recording, because this would go out to, we have a lot of members, but this would also go out to a lot more people, and I think that was a lot of good questions.
I think having solid information in terms of, insurance is really important, especially when you're an automotive enthusiast in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, no, that's something. We'll talk to Brian about it and see if we can make that happen so we can get, some good information out to everyone as well.
Excellent.
Right,
And then
guys,
one last plug for me, if I can. One last plug. I also have a YouTube channel. I invested a bunch of money in a video. So if you go to the Phoenix Insurance on YouTube and watch my letter from Enzo video, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin.
Okay.
And thank you all so much. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, all members. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.